We all know how dominant the Bulls, Celtics, Lakers, and Warriors have been for the last 40 years, but there have been some other dominant teams that haven't won a title to show for it. And Sportsmafia is here to tell you the 10 best NBA teams that never won a title. Number 10, we have the Houston Rockets, 2013 to current. I had to do it. With one of the best records in the NBA since the 2013-2014 season, the Rockets have been one of the best teams in the NBA for 5 seasons. Mike D'Antoni's running gun offense and killer defense, combined with James Harden's Jordan-esque points output, gave the Rockets the 1 seed in the Western Conference in the 2018 season. But they haven't been able to get past Golden State though. The Warriors have bounced Houston from the playoffs in 3 of the last 5 years, including twice in the conference finals. Ouch. Number 9, we have the Denver Nuggets, 1982 to 1989. The 1980s were dominated by the Celtics and Los Angeles Lakers, but a number of great teams could have won a title if the ball had only bounced that way instead of the other. The 80s Denver Nuggets are just one such team. Led by a big three of their own, composed of Alex English, Dan Issel, and Kiki Vanderweeg, the Nuggets featured a high-powered offense and 2 seasons with more than 50 wins. Doug Moe's teams never seemed to find their rhythm in the postseason, but that didn't stop opponents and their fans from grinding their teeth and biting their nails when the 80s Nuggets came to town. Number 8, we have the Dallas Mavericks of 1982 to 1990. The Mavs had 2 good squads and many terrible ones since being founded in 1980. One of the good squads won a championship in 2011, but back in the mid to late 80s, Dallas had an exciting up-tempo team that could run circles around the Lakers. Led by Ronaldo Blackman, Mark Aguirre at the 3 spot, Brad Davis, Jay Vincent, and Derek Harper, the Mavericks of the 1980s were built to introduce basketball to the city of Dallas. The Mavs were good enough to come out on top of a competitive Midwest division in 1986-87, but Showtime was too powerful, and Dallas, loaded as it was with high draft picks, couldn't gel when the playoffs rolled around. Number 7, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers of 1988 to 1996. Prior to the King James era, the Cavaliers last enjoyed hoop success in the 1990s when neighboring city Chicago dominated the basketball landscape. The Cavs, led by the likes of Brad Daugherty, Mark Price, Larry Nance, Ron Harper, and Steve Kerr, yes, that's Steve Kerr, could never get past the Chicago Bulls and its dynamic stranglehold over the NBA. Cleveland's pre-LeBron era was marked by 2 50-plus win seasons and crushing losses to lower-seeded Chicago. Number 6, we have the Portland Trailblazers of 1983 to 1995. Portland featured one of the best teams in the world of basketball during this time, with Clyde the Glide Drexler scoring points and locking down opponents, and Terry Porter running one of the most efficient offenses in league history at the time. It was only the combined power of 2 dynasties, the Lakers and the Bulls, that prevented the Blazers from attaining a championship. Portland's second loss to the Bulls in the finals led to the dismantling of one of the NBA's favorites teams. Drexler left, Jeff Petrie quit after coach Rick Adelman was fired, and one by one the other core players of the Rip City Trailblazers retired or were traded away. The Trailblazers have the unenvious distinction of losing to both the Detroit Pistons and the Bulls in the finals. Number 5, we have the Atlanta Hawks, 1983 to 1989. Another great team that could never get past the Pistons or the Bulls was the Dominique Wilkins-led Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta could never get past the Celtics either. The 1980s was a tough time to be a great team in the NBA. The human highlight reel and his entourage had several 50-plus win seasons and played some of the most entertaining basketball of the era, and at this time when Showtime and Larry Legend were performing at peak levels. In an era where the Western Conference dominates the scene now, it's sometimes crazy to remember that the Eastern Conference was the baddest of the bad. A 50-win organization like Atlanta couldn't even get to the finals to play the Lakers because it had to go through the likes of Chicago, Detroit, and Boston. Yikes. Number 4, we have the New York Knicks of 1987 to 1998. The list of great teams in the 80s and 90s keeps on coming. The New York Knicks, led by Patrick Ewing, was a team that just couldn't get over the Detroit-Chicago hump. John Starks, Mark Jackson, Charles Oakley, and Hubert Davis were some of the Knicks' memorable players to surround Ewing, and Pat Riley and Don Nelson both coached New York's finest to 50 or sometimes 60-plus win seasons, and they still couldn't quite win it all. Even when Jordan retired to play baseball for a couple of years, the Knicks found a way to lose. Some teams are just so good that they seem destined to fail, and the Ewing-era Knicks was one of those teams. Number 3, we have the Milwaukee Bucks of 1979 to 1990. Finally, a team that didn't meet its end at the hands of Michael Jordan or Larry Bird. In fact, the Milwaukee Bucks sent Jordan packing in the playoffs his rookie year. The Bucks also said goodbye to Dr. J in his final NBA game. The Milwaukee Bucks of the 1980s were tough. They got sent home by the Hawks, 76ers, Celtics, Pistons, and Bulls. But of all teams in the Eastern Conference during the Boston, Detroit, Chicago era, the Bucks were the best of them that couldn't win. What's up, Sid the Squid? Number 2, we have the Utah Jazz, 1985 to 2003. The best team to ever play against Michael Jordan's Bulls had to be the Stockton to Malone Utah Jazz. Led by the most underrated coach in basketball history, Jerry Sloan, the Jazz clashed with Jordan's Bulls twice in the late 90s, coming oh so close to beating the champs on numerous occasions. Jeff Hornacek, Greg Ostertag, and Byron Russell were fun to watch, alongside the dynamic pick-and-roll duo of John Stockton to Karl Malone. The Bulls-Jazz series might be the most underrated finals in NBA history. Number 1, we have the Sacramento Kings from 2001 to 2004. The short-lived greatest show on court was robbed of its glory by the Lakers and their phenomenal ability to get to the free throw line in fourth quarters. Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Vlade Divac, Doug Christie, Peja Stojanovich, Bobby Jackson, Jeff Petrie, and Rick Adelman deserved better than what the NBA gave them. The Sacramento Kings of 2001 to 2004 were the best ever NBA team to not win a title. That's it for today's Sports Mafia video. Thank you for watching. Comment below and let me know if the team you're a fan of ever won an NBA title or not. And if you like this video, please subscribe.